And what's going on, everybody? Welcome into a YinzerCrazy.com special. We're super pumped to bring you another episode of the Ken Wregget and Friends show, brought to you, of course, by 31 Sports Bar and Grill right there in Bridgeville, PA. I'm Mike DeCastro. You can find me on Twitter at MikeDupSports1. More importantly, that is Ken Wregget. He's, of course, a former Stanley Cup champion with the Pittsburgh Penguins. And today we're bringing on another guest who's a former Stanley Cup champion with the Penguins. Ken, he's a good friend of yours, Joe Mullen.
Thank you, Mike. We're very lucky to have Joey join us today. One of my favorite guys playing hockey through the years and here in Pittsburgh. And we're going to share some great stories with you, so stay tuned.
Yeah, we sure are. They have some awesome anecdotes coming up. Joey is a Hockey Hall of Famer, so we're excited to have him grace his presence on the show today. Speaking of gracing your presence, you need to go bring your butt over to 31 Sports Bar and Grill if you're listening to this. It's obviously Ken Wregget's restaurant and bar. They got a lot of good specials, beer, food. The Penguins are back. It's time to go sit in one of those bar stools, have yourself a sandwich, a cold one, and watch a game. Ken, tell them what you got going on this week there.
Well, we got a big football game coming up. Please come check out our wing specials. We have a dining room that we just finished off with some big screen TVs. Love to have you come watch a game. We also have on February 17th some alumni guys coming down to watch Toronto Maple Leaf game, which will be interesting as well. On Friday, February 18th, we have a local band, Jasperola. Very good. Check them out on social media. I'd love to have you come join us and watch them. Saturday is Funhouse, so we got a big weekend planned, and we'd love to have you guys here.
Can't wait for all of that. Of course, check them out, 31 Sports Bar and Grill up there in Bridgeville, PA. You will not be disappointed. Much like this show, we're about to turn to Joey Mullen. You will not be disappointed. Thanks for joining us. And welcome back in to the Ken Wregget and Friends show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, we've got Ken. We're always super excited to have him. We've had some really good friends so far on the show this season, but we have not had a Hall of Famer just yet, and we're absolutely thrilled to be joined by one today. He went from playing roller hockey in Manhattan all the way to that Hockey Hall of Fame. It's Joey Mullen. Hi, Joe. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got it, of course. I guess that'll be my first question. How did a guy like Ken Wregget swindle you on his show?
Well, Kenny was my chauffeur during the playing days, and he'd drive me to the airport and all the time, and to the rink to go to games. So he was my chauffeur, and we just became good friends.
Ken, did you go through any red lights? I mean, how was your driving?
But with driving was good with Joe. I always enjoyed the conversation we had, no matter what it was, or when it was, for that matter, late at night after games on the way home, from wherever we were on the road. And there was times we had Eddie Johnson with us too, because we all kind of lived, I guess, within a couple of clubs of each other, and golf clubs, and it was a lot of fun. And I was very fortunate to be able to be Joe's chauffeur, like you said. Very lucky.
Well, they wouldn't let me drive at all.
Yeah.
Well, some obvious reasons, probably. I didn't learn to drive until I was like 24.
Yeah. Well, I remember one time, Mike, Joe and I came back from, I believe it was Buffalo, and there's a snowstorm in Buffalo, and which followed right through to Pittsburgh. And what was very debatable, we were taking off, and we landed at the airport, and we were at the old airport, not the main airport, and that's where the charter plane was. One of the service guys came running around looking for me, and they get to Joe, and he points at me, he goes, right there, and he goes, your wife's in the hospital having a baby. He goes, you got to get down there. Well, I said, okay. And I came with Joe, drove me that night. I looked at Joe, he looked at me across the hood, and he goes, you go ahead and drive it. I'll catch you in the morning.
No way.
So off we went. Yeah, but we've shared some very, some very good times through the years. Absolutely.
Yeah, you want to talk about flying through red lights. I think that is the the most justifiable situation of all time in regard to that. For those that are unaware, Joey played for the Penguins from 90 to 95, came back in 97. Well-traveled individual. We'll talk about that a little bit. But obviously you guys spent a significant portion of your careers on the Penguins together. You already talked about some favorite memories a little bit. So, Joe, I got to ask you, you were obviously a guy who was well known for being a goal scorer, a menace in front of the net. How much did you torture Ken in practice?
You know what? To be honest, he really tortured me because he knew what I was doing most of the time. And as soon as I would look at a spot, he would give it to me. And just as I'm shooting, he would take it away, whether it was the glove hand or the 5-hole. And he was already there. And I was like, oh, I hate that when he does that, you know? So he used to torture me like that.
Yeah.
Ken, you got to take more credit for him then being the first American-born player to score 500 goals and 1,000 points, because it sounds like Joe was able to recreate his shot a little bit based on your where your glove hand was.
Hey, you're hearing that too, are you, Mike? I'm glad. I'm glad that's coming to because I've been telling the guys that for all these years now, and he's finally coming clean. It's good to see Joe. Thank you.
He did make me adjust.
Yeah, I think you got to rewrite the speech a little bit. No, I'm only kidding. Former Pens GM Coach Craig Patrick said that you could score goals any which way you wanted to, and that you're unbelievable in front of the net. So that obviously speaks to what we just talked about. Mike Lang coined you the nickname Slippery Rock Joe. I love that. I love reading about that. Did you know what that meant at first? People have to explain it.
Not at first. And then, Mike explained it to me. He goes, well, you're slippery around all those defensemen out there, and you're like a rock. You're always right there, So,
yeah. And the fact
it was
a
very nice compliment.
Yeah, of course. Ken, did you ever have a nickname like that Langer gave you?
No, I managed to escape that one somehow. I think the guys called me enough names in practice and stuff.
No,
definitely.
We should have given you the Batman moniker because of the helmet, but I guess you'll be our Batman on the Ken Wregget and Friends show. It's some serious shoes to fill. Joey, let's get to some of that decorated career we talked about, from Manhattan to I saw you paid your own way onto Boston College's hockey team, to then being the first U.S.-born player to reach that 500th goal milestone. You did it against Patrick Waugh in Colorado, I think 1997. What do you remember from that moment? I know you talked about it a little bit off air.
That whole year I was kind of struggling. All the guys are trying to get me, set me up, and I think all the other teams knew it, so they were kind of, just taking me away a lot, So I just, I was getting frustrated. I was getting towards the end of the season, like Kenny said, and I hadn't gotten it yet. I only needed, I think, 5 goals going into the season, and I got on the ice, and I just said, I got to get to the front of the net. I need to get to the front of the net. It could hit off me. It could, just get lucky. And so I went, and Chris Tamer took the shot. And I just got a little piece of it right next to Patrick Waugh, and it went in. And, I just started jumping up because I was just like so relieved. So just to get it over with.
Sure.
And then after that, I felt fine. I was like, no pressure anymore, so I felt fine the rest of the season.
So you felt that pressure actually,
I did. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I was so close, and then it would, the clock just kept ticking away, and days were going by. And before I know it, it's towards the end of the season, I'm going, oh my God, I got to do this thing. So, yeah. But, I realized I just, I had to get myself in front of the net if you want to score, they say, go to the front of the net.
Saw a great clip of it. I think it was on YouTube. All your teammates you talked about, Ron Francis, guys like Lemieux, Kasparaitis, Edzo come out and, give you a hug, a handshake. Where was Ken during all that?
Where was Ken?
Yeah, Ken, where were you at? I didn't see you jump on the ice.
I was probably standing at the far end of the ice, or I was on the bench. I'm not quite sure, but I was one of those guys, like we mentioned, that Joe and I used to drive together, and as much as I wanted him to score the goal, and that's how amazing that is for for anybody, let alone the first American for 500 goals is special. And if you really do know Joe and where he came from in Hell's Kitchen, the story's quite impressive. And I was kind of rooting for him quietly, but I was enjoying being with him. And if that went on for one more year, I was fine with that, because he was a great guy to play with and get to know, and I just enjoyed the time with him. So to see what he's done and go through that, very impressive. Very.
Yeah, I can obviously tell that you guys have a friendship that's been everlasting. Joey, he brought it up. Let's talk about your upbringing a little bit. Tell us about Hell's Kitchen, Manhattan. How did that shape you?
Well, in New York, we didn't have a whole lot of ice. And it's, I always had the thought, if, it's not what you don't have, it's what you have. And we had plenty of concrete, cement, and asphalt, and a lot of schoolyards made of that. And I was fortunate enough that we had a schoolyard right across the street from where I lived. And I spent every day in there playing roller hockey. My dads and uncles all played before us, and we used to go watch them play when we were really small. And then once you get about 5, 6, 7, they put you on the skates. And like I said, we had all day to skate over there. And then my uncle had got the city to put on some lights on the building, on the school buildings. And we could play a little bit at night too. So that extended our play time quite a bit. And, we loved it. It was a safe haven for us, right across the street. Mom could look out the window, count heads, make sure everybody's out there. And if one was missing, the other 4 had to go and find them. So it was, it was safe. It made the neighborhood safe for us, and gave us something to do, kept us out of a lot of trouble.
My dad used to always tell me that when he was a kid, he knew it was time to go home when the street lights came on. So you guys just kept them on for the whole night and were able to stay out there and play. You kind of changed the game of hockey there in New York forever.
Yeah, they used to shut them off, I think, they used to go off about 11 o'clock at night. So, yeah, we could be out there till then. And you could hear everybody skating over there.
Wow.
If you lived in the buildings around it,
Sure,
So,
the clinking.
There was a lot of people that weren't too happy about that.
Yeah. Sure. So you're still in New York now, I'm assuming, residing?
No, I'm actually residing on Cape Cod right now.
Oh, amazing. Very cool.
Cape
So
Cod,
I wanted to talk a little bit about, obviously, Pittsburgh is Ken's home. It became his home, I should say, after a stint with the Penguins. And, of course, here at 31 Sports Bar and Grill, we thank them for being our awesome sponsor over here at Yins Are Crazy, yinsarecrazy.com. Obviously, Pittsburgh was your home for a little while, Joey, but I remember seeing a quote where you said when you came to Pittsburgh, you really enjoyed it. Not that you didn't enjoy your stints with other teams, but it brought you closer to home, right? It brought you closer to New York, and you kind of had a little bit more, a bigger role. Is that fair to say?
No, I actually probably had a bigger role in Calgary when I was,
but brought you closer to home.
But it brought me closer to home. It was an easy move. The kids were starting to get a little bit older. And of course, the Canadian schools are a little bit different than the American schools as far as, their math and stuff like that. But, so we figured it was a good time for them to move. Obviously, Calgary was looking to move me. So it was fine with me because they were sending me to a place where I knew people like Bob Johnson and Craig Patrick. And, I knew they had a good core there with Mario and Kevin Stevens, Tommy Barrasso there. I was excited to go. Yeah. It was sad to leave Calgary. Calgary was a great place for me. It really, I think, spurred my career, because I did have a big role there. Mm-hmm. And, coming to Pittsburgh, not that I didn't have a big role, but it was it was there were so many good players. They had gotten Brian Trache right before me that summer, and that was a big move. And I just was real excited to get back to the States.
Talking with Hockey Hall of Famer, former Pens legend, Joey Mullen here on the Ken Wregget and Friends show. Played 16 seasons, 3 Stanley Cup teams. Something you and Ken have in common, and Ken, I'll start with you here. This is something we've asked some other guests on the show previously as well, is that you guys are incredibly well-traveled in terms of your career. Obviously, it's a business. Ken, you both have in common that you both have a Flyers and Penguins connection as well. Ken, how weird is it, and how, I'm sure there's a lot of cool things to it as well, but just bouncing from city to city and never knowing really, where you're going to be the next year, the business of all that.
No, it's I guess when you play hockey, you're an employee. You're, I don't know, a good way to put it would be you're a piece of meat, and your job is to do the best you can do for whoever you're with at that point. And yeah, there's a lot of moving around, and it's a great lifestyle. We can't complain about anything really. We get treated extremely well. You move into cities like I know here in Pittsburgh, welcome with open arms. And for me, retiring here and being around these fans and seeing where they were during those cup years, Joe, like the first couple of years is very interesting. And I know I going to Calgary, and Joey was in Calgary, won a cup there too. And I'm from Alberta. Originally, my dad was in the Air Force, so Edmonton and Calgary are kind of almost home for me. But we do get a good chance to see a lot of great places around the country and meet some wonderful people. And I know what the kids, as Joey was saying, his kids came here a little bit older, but when they're younger, moving around, I know my daughter, she's 6 at the time, and I tell her, like, you have friends here in Pittsburgh, and you'll have new friends and more friends in Detroit and Calgary. And so you kind of try to make it for what it is. And it's actually, it can be tough, but it's also like anything, it's what you make of it. What your attitude and what you believe in. It's good. It's a fun life.
Yeah, Joe, you're somebody obviously that transitioned from the Penguins to the Flyers. So you're going from, as a coach, obviously, so you're going from a team, of course, that your full heart and soul is on playing for, to kind of the opposite side. Talk about the interesting transition that was, or just kind of was just part of the dynamic at that point.
Yeah. When you say opposite, you really mean opposite, because
really,
all those years you played against the Flyers, they were probably the most hated team because they were a tough team for so many years, and a lot of people didn't respect the Flyers because of that. And then you get there and you meet the people, and you're like, wow. I never expected this. It was great. It was a great move for me to get there and coach, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I was there for 12 years, so I really got a good taste of it, and I really, really enjoyed every minute of it.
See, rivals can become friends, and enemies, I guess, you hold them close, and
they're paying the bills too, so that's a good thing.
Fair point. I think more people should look at it that way when that does come to fruition.
No, but obviously, the people are great. Yeah,
it's good to hear, and it's important to note that for sure, because I think a lot of people jump to conclusions when something like that happens, and that you despise the other team, and then you despise this team, but you can feel great about both experiences for sure. Yeah. So I just kind of want to open it up. I mean, you guys obviously touched on some cool, strange memories earlier that you guys want to cup together. You're apparently driving each other around to hospitals and whatnot. Ken, what are some other memories maybe that stick out from your playing days or off the ice with Joe?
Where you go with that, Mike? Me?
Just stories.
Well, I think probably my favorite one with Joe, again, with Joe and EJ, and driving around, because after games, I guess is what I'm thinking of. And I remember coming back from, again, the old airport down the 376, and and talking to Joe and EJ, and we had lost a game, and I believe that game was also in Buffalo, and it was a 4-2 or 4-1 game. We should have won that one, and it was right around that time Joe was telling too. I think 97, 6, 7 time. And we were coming down the highway, and it branched on to 79, and EJ got me so worked up, and I'm driving it. Then all of a sudden, my wheels on my truck were screeching. I was trying to make the turn, and EJ's going, "Whoa!" Because we the passion you have and talking about the game of hockey and it's something special again for all of us growing up and playing this and having the opportunity to travel with these guys and hear the stories and share the ice surface with them. It's just unbelievable. And then when Joe was talking about Philly, those challenges that we go up against and bring. It's very unique. It is fun. A lot of great stories.
Joe, obviously, Uber wasn't available back then. So, anything stick out to you about those times and memories?
Well, we got, like we mentioned earlier, that we all live very close to each other there, and so there was quite a few neighborhood parties that we would all gather at together.
That's what we want to hear.
We all knew the neighbors, and Kenny's house is a good spot to party at. So we had good times there. But I mean, between all the times we spent together, I mean, there was just so much that happened between driving, playing,
the kids
going back and forth, the kids, the neighborhood. It was just a great atmosphere and a great place to be. Pittsburgh's a really good city. I really enjoyed it there. It was good times, and that's you want to have that much fun when you're doing what you're doing, especially hockey. There's a lot of stress sometimes when you're playing, but most of the time it's just a lot of fun.
Kenny's place is still a great place to party. He just turned it into a restaurant and bar.
Yes, he did. I heard that.
Yeah.
Leave it up to Ken to do that.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Speaking of doing what you're doing, you did it for 50 years. We're involved in hockey. You're still involved in some sense, I guess, with your kids' careers, correct?
No, well, my kids are all done right now.
Okay.
Patrick retired last year, but he is going to come and play on try out for the 3 Ice thing,
Cool.
league that's coming up. I don't know if you heard of the 3 Ice. Kenny heard of it, right?
Yeah, EJ has something to do with that as well. And it's a 3-on-3 hockey, I believe they're starting up. I'm not sure about the cities, Joe, but the guys would love to hear about it if you want to share that.
Yeah, well, we're going to start a league 3-on-3, and we're going to go to 8 different cities during the summer, play a tournament style game, not game, but a tournament style tournament in each city on the weekends. It will be televised, and it's a professional league. So we will have pro players playing, and we're trying to take the best part of hockey, the overtime 3-on-3, and make it into kind of smaller version of it. And I think basketball did it with at one time, and so we're trying to get a kind of copy that a little bit. But we hope it's going to be a success, a lot of fun for everybody, and, exciting for the fans.
It sounds like a ton of fun. I got to throw this in there. I think when basketball did it, they had a lot of retired players also playing. So
that's what
you
will
two got to be
be.
on the team.
Obviously, we can't get the NHL players because they're all under contracts and stuff.
What about you two is what I'm saying.
But
that's where I was going with that.
I'm on Medicare now, so I'm a little bit too old.
Fair enough.
I lost my driver's license.
Hey, Hey, well, you never know. There's a chance. We'll tease it like, hey, maybe Joey and Kenny are coming back to the 3-on-3 tournament. No,
Kenny, you ever tell Mike about the time you and Wendell changed on the fly?
I'm not sure if we did or not, Mike, but this is the first year I came to Pittsburgh from Philadelphia in '92. It was the second Stanley Cup, and we had a bit of a lockout season for, I think, 2 weeks.
Sure.
And then Scotty Bowman, our first game back was in Madison Square Gardens, and Scotty Bowman decided that he would change the goalies every 5 minutes, me and Wendell and myself. So it was, if you looked at the box score in the papers, probably half the page or more. I think it was more. But so the guys said, if you could change on the fly, they put some money in for a little pool. So Wendell and I thought we'd try to do that. And so it was the start of the third period, just taking down the first 5 minutes, and play was down at their end. And I was saying at the top of my crease, I could hear Wendell in the corner of my ear over the bench, Regs, now, let's do it now. So I look over at him, and he's got one leg on the boards, and all the guys are going, come on. I looked down the ice, and it looked like we had a little bit of a break. The puck was in the corner, so I buried my head and just hightailed. I didn't even look up. I just went to the bench. I either caught or not caught. So somewhere in there, I guess Messier got the puck, or one of the guys got the puck. They started coming up ice. Wendell jumps off the bench, and he starts burning out. I'm diving over the bench to get back on. The top of my pads gets to the top of the boards. I'm wiping out. Wendell scrambled in there, and I didn't see it, but from my understanding, he made a heck of a save on Messier to stop a goal from going in. But we did it and got the pot.
Oh, yeah. It said Scotty didn't know it was going to happen, so he was shocked when it happened.
Wow. I tell you what, we got to find a clip of that. I'm not sure if I've ever heard of that happening. Okay. That is hilarious. And I tell you what, Joey, we have a background that we use for this show with some really good pictures of Ken on it. We're going to have to find the picture of him hunched over the bench with his skates on top and switch those pictures out for that folly.
You might find a lot of pictures of Ken hunched over the bench.
Oh, that's a good way to end it, between two buddies, of course, that have had a rich hockey background. And talk about involvement in hockey. You're always going to stay involved when you jump on the Ken Wregget and Friends show. Joey Mullen was nice enough to do that today. Joey, thanks for the time, man. It's been fun. Ken, I'm sure you feel the same.
All right. Joey, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Appreciate it, Joe. Thank you.
Crazy, but so am I. Number one sports site in the burg. Let me show you why.